Happy Tuesday, Motivation Movers. Welcome aboard to a Tuesday night motivation movement. So sorry that I'm catching y'all late in the day. By the time I upload this, it will be late because I'm running around like crazy right now. Been running around all day on my day off. Don't you just love that? You get a day off and you running around doing everything else but relaxing. Child, that's me. So I haven't even had a chance to sit down and enjoy my day off. So I'm gonna make this quick because I gotta get myself relaxed and just have to share this before I get settled in and comfortable. Before I get into the message, make sure you guys hit subscribe, like, share on the Coco Renee's Motivation Movement channel at Official Coco Renee here on YouTube and Instagram. Okay, let me just say this. Motivation Movers, I've probably said this several different ways, but I'm gonna just say it again. We're gonna revisit this conversation. When the Spirit tells you to move, when the Spirit tells you to do something, you better follow it. When God is sending a message through the Spirit into you, you don't question it. You don't ask no questions. Even if you feel like you are afraid, you don't know what to do. If God is really tough on your heart, heavy on your heart to make a decision, you might not understand why. Do it. Okay? Just do it like Nike. Don't ask no questions. God is not going to lead you down the wrong direction. He is going to lead you down the right path. He is the Almighty. He has things in store for you a specific way. He needs you to follow the course. A lot of us detour, get off course, go down a completely different direction, wonder why we're not being blessed. And this is the reason why. Because we're not following what the Spirit internally tells us. I say this to tell you guys, I had a revelation today. I've shared it on Facebook. I've shared it on Snapchat. I'm going to share it with you guys here on YouTube and Instagram. My kids we've been living in the Santa Clarita Valley, which is out by Magic Mountain for people who that live in California. It's out by Magic Mountain. We've been living out there for 7 years. Okay, 7 is a divine number. God told me last year, as the 7th year was coming upon, or the 8th year, I should say, it is time to go. 8 is a renewal. Okay, 7 is divine number. 8 is a renewal. It's a fresh start. It's time to renew, to start over with a new, fresh beginning. Okay, so he was heavy tugging on my heart. Last year, I knew it wasn't the time to move. We were going to move last year, 2018. And I told my husband, His Spirit didn't call me to make this move yet. He doesn't want us to move yet. We have to wait until, the Spirit calls us. That's all I could tell my husband. So instead we put our money aside and we started looking at different places and different options. And so I started praying to God, last year, Lord, lead us to the right place. Show us the destination where we're supposed to go. God, I want to make sure my kids have a great education. They're in a safe neighborhood. We are in a safe neighborhood. We're surrounded with good people. I know that everybody is not going to be great, but, I just want to be able to have decent people around us, good community. I pray for very specific things, right? We went camping in Lake Paris. And I really started paying attention to the surrounding area and just realizing how beautiful and how comfortable and how close it is to God's nature. And it was like, everything that brought me peace at that time. And I was just like, wow, it's really nice out here. And I started looking at the houses and I was like, wow, these houses are really nice and they're big and spacious and it's so clean in the community and it's very integrated with all types of different ethnicities, like a melting pot. So I started paying attention to it. But at that time, my husband was like, well, maybe we could consider looking out here. We don't know anyone out in Lake Paris, but we're like, what, it might be something to consider. We're going to still stick to things we're comfortable with, but we're going to keep this into consideration. Speed it on up. Time comes, it's time to start looking. We start looking late last year, reaching out to real estate companies, looking into different options. Your girl start working hard on getting this credit rebuilt. God bless me. My credit score started rocketing and my score started going up. And I was just like, okay, Lord, okay, now we're talking. So he was lining things up throughout the last year to get us prepped for the move. And so we started looking at the surrounding cities outside of Santa Clarita, and there was nothing that we could find that we liked. I mean, I'm very picky in particular, and I just felt like I want to live in something nice. I've been blessed to live in decent places. I've lived in some places where they were okay, but always in a good community. And this was that move where I was just like, no, this is a big move. It's a big responsibility. It has to be what my heart calls, okay? Speed it on up. All the doors were not opening in the places that we were looking because I wasn't happy with the choices and the options. The money, financially, we were able to afford these places, but I did not want to. My spirit was just like, no, you don't want to move in that area. No, you don't want to go back there. No, no, no. So everything around us, I was like, no, I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it in my spirit. So we started looking out in Riverside County, started looking at all the little cities. And I found a house, but it wasn't our timing for that house. Somebody else had put their bid in. We had to let it go. I was all devastated about it. And then 2 weeks later, my husband came across 3 houses. Out of those 3, I had a specific one that I really, really loved and I really liked. Ended up choosing the one I really loved and liked. We put our bid in for all 3. The one I liked the most was the one that was the first one to get approved. And it was the biggest one. It was the most affordable. It was actually cheaper than the other ones that were less space. And I just liked the structure. And so I came around to the community. I came out a couple times, tested the community out. Okay, you know, you can't really judge a community off of the first time you see something. But I liked what I seen. It looked clean, looked nice. All that to say, he followed the Spirit because the Spirit already had showed us last year where he was going to move us. But we didn't know at that time. So it ended up being right on the backside of the campgrounds where we were at last year. And I was like, wow, this is right over here by the campgrounds. These are like almost the houses that we seen when we was, you know, coming from camping. Sure enough, it was. It was the very community that we had seen when we went camping and didn't even realize it. So now today, you know, I'm getting a briefing from my kids' schools. Their transition, we had to do the parent-teacher conference, get to know the teachers, you know, talk about some concerns, blah, blah, blah. And so a beautiful melanin sister came in who was a psychologist, and she said she was looking at my kids' records, and she noticed some things that really had disturbed her. And so I was like, oh my goodness, what did she see? And, you know, so I'm nervous as a parent, like, what did she see on my kids' record? She said, I noticed that your kids were rated harshly through their last schools. What kind of school setting did they have? So I started breaking down the school setting, telling her a little history. And she said, let me just say this. This is what we call implicit bias. When they judge your kids based on their race and they put these ridiculous ratings that don't even match the criteria of the work and everything else that we're seeing with your kids. We've had your kids assessed. We've monitored them the last, 22 days that they've been in the school, and these things don't match up. And so she was like very upset about it. She said, I've seen this many times before with African-American children specifically, and your kids was basically a victim of implicit bias. The teacher that they had probably had an issue. And I said, well, she wasn't a black teacher, we'll put it that way. She was not of any Hispanic or black ethnicity, just to be nice. She's a Caucasian teacher, no offense to, anybody. But there were some challenges because both of my kids had had the same teacher before. So with all that to be said, she said, oh, yes, honey. She says, I could tell by the way that she's rated your kids that there was definitely some implicit bias, and whatever experience she had, she was taking it out on your kids. And from what I've seen, your kids have been amazing students in this short period of time. Nothing that even meets or matches what I see on her record. She put things on there that I had no idea she put in my children's file, trying to sabotage my kids' education. And so by God revealing that to me, that was huge, because the biggest thing that stressed me out more than anything in this move was my kids and their education. And the fact that God showed me not once but twice with both of my kids that he's got their back. He's got their best interests at heart. And then he revealed it with my oldest through her experience at school and how people are gravitating to her and how the coaches on the basketball team are loving her and they're wanting to really help her to excel. It is amazing when God shows you through your children the works, but if I never followed the Spirit, I would have never known that. I would have never came here. I would have never followed the instructions that he was giving me. When I'm telling you guys, the moral of the story is when the Spirit calls you to do something, listen, because you don't know what blessings are in store. It might take time. God has got to, he's got to get it all together, okay? A good meal takes time to cook, okay? You gotta get all the ingredients and the seasonings and all the stuff right and perfectly, perfectly seasoned in order for it to be that wonderful, tasty meal. And that's kind of how God's blessings work, okay? It's like that good dish with all the perfect seasonings, taste to perfection. That's how God's spirit and that's how his blessings work. So with that being said, thank y'all so much again for tuning in. I love y'all. I'll catch y'all next time. Until next time, movers, toodles.